What is up, and welcome to Skill Diff, where we have not only differing skill sets, but vastly differing opinions. I'm your host, Dylan Sinnott. Beside of me is my amazing guest, Pat. What'd you do over the weekend, buddy?
Well, like what I do every single weekend. I played some video games.
What'd you play? Anything fun?
A little bit of Counter-Strike, a little bit of Valorant, and been playing that new Doom.
Heck yeah, well, over the weekend we had some really good Counter-Strike. We got Astralis making a miracle run. We got the Prodigy Son of America joining Team Liquid. And then to wrap it all off, we have some beautiful Call of Duty. So let's hop into that first. We are first gonna lift it off Optic Gaming. They come out of the gates and they look awful. They get smoked by the Lagmates, who are arguably the worst team in the league now. But then they smoke the Ultra. So we've got a duality of Optic. Sometimes they're incredibly good, sometimes they're incredibly bad. Which one are you buying? Are you buying they're awful, or are you buying they're one of the best in the league?
All right, starting a little early with the buy-sell. So for me, I think I'm buying just more towards the awful middle-of-the-road pack. I think the addition to Mercules, while I think has been definitely better for them and has improved their odds, at what point does it help when you lose to the Lagmates? Which, in my opinion, also probably worse team, worse than Falcons now after their change.
Yeah.
It's like you dropped to them. But beating Ultra, that's fantastic, sure. But my thing is, it's online, as per always. It's like, how do I think they're going to do in this major coming up? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I think they're not going to get double bounced. Luckily, they actually get to be in the winners for once, which is surprising.
That's
so
true.
we're already getting a big step up, in my opinion. I think they'll do all right, but at the end of the day, I think they will make champs. That's the biggest question of like champs. Are they going to make it? I think they definitely going to secure that ace slot for champs. Mercury's definitely going to help with that. Hook's been playing great. Shotzi, big improvements from him over these past couple games. So I'm really surprised by Optic, honestly.
Totally. I mean, for me, it's a matter of, can they win their first round matchup? They're going to be playing Ultra in the first round. And if they do win that, they basically lock themselves into champs, because at that point, you're going to need the Rocker C9 to basically win the whole event or make it to the finals, which I don't think is very probable for them to do. However, if they fall to Ultra and they go to that loser's bracket, it gets really sketchy quick, because if you go 0-2, then it becomes really viable for Rocker to come in and sneak that spot away. And, you know, I couldn't agree more. It's just one of those where, coming into this season, coming off of a champs win, coming in with a star-studded roster, at this point you've made, I don't know, 4 or 5 roster changes. Feels like it kind of helped, but at times you still have this, you know, again, I think the best word is duality. At some points, they look like they can compete with LAT and FaZe and Ultra and those other guys and even beat them. And then at other points, they struggle to take maps off of Lagmates. And it's like, it's insane to be at that point this late into the season, heading into the final major, the prequel to champs, the prequel to Esports World Cup. It's not optimistic. If I'm an Optic fan, I'm real nervous. I don't think the wall has fallen yet, but if they get double bounced this weekend, it might be.
Crazy. Speaking of that, the Rocker. All right, their main opposition, who's directly behind them, coming in close. Now, like you said, if Optic does bad, they definitely stand a chance. Now, coming up here in Major 4, Rocker in not the best position starting off here, but do you think that the Rocker have a chance to steal that 8th spot?
I think they have a chance to steal the 8th spot. If they do, it's not going to matter. It's one of those, they're so inconsistent. Their search doesn't look good. They keep dropping round 11s, which is crazy. And then you think about the fact they keep dropping round 11s, and then Kenny goes 11-0 in a series, which is absolutely nuts on a search. It makes no sense, their level of inconsistency at times. They are somehow more inconsistent than Optic, so it's probably fitting that they will lose that 8th spot to Optic. I was originally a big team. Optic will not make champs. I do think them beating the Ultra and Rocker not clutching up over the weekend, I think probably kind of nailed the coffin, because that's the difference in an extra win that the Rocker need this weekend at the major. It's just going to be really, really tough. I think Kenny's playing really well, and you know he does come in clutch at those moments, and it's good to see him not in the whatever mental state he was in over at Optic. It feels like he's actually like playing, having fun, doing cool stuff again, and then seeing an 11-0 S&D performance. We all love to see it, but if they do squeak in, I don't think it matters, because then they're going to be playing one of the top 2 teams, to be FaZe or LAT, which isn't good. So I don't think it's good for either of those squads. Honestly, it's a big media thing on how well they're going to do at champs, how it's going to help viewership and everything else, but in terms of the outcome of champs, I don't think it matters.
Yeah, true. I don't think it matters either. And for the Rocker going into Major 4 here, it's not looking too great. I mean, their round 1 matchup going in, I mean, they got to go up against the number 1 seed right now, who is Miami. Yeah. We're going to talk about in a little bit, but they are on a definite hot streak. Yep. So that means you're most likely looking at a loser's bracket right off the rip after that first game, unfortunately. Yep. And who are you going against? The Breach. That one, definitely plausible. I can see that one going any way. So it's like we could give them that win. And I probably would, but I see them going out in round 2 because, unfortunately, you're going to be going up against either their Surge or the Los Angeles Thieves, depending on how those brackets play out. Yep. And, yeah, the way that they've been playing online in previous lands, even with the addition of Kenny and him dropping that 11-0 in Search and Destroy, I just don't think it's possible that you take down one of those teams on land because, like, FaZe, land dominant Surge, who has been looking a little inconsistent, I mean, but they just took the rocker in that map where he did drop 11-0, which is crazy. So they had the search on Surge, but they can't beat him in respawn. And unfortunately, you got to beat them in a couple of respawns if you're going to take them. So unfortunately, I don't think Rocker will be able to clutch out that final spot. Yeah. Their best case scenario is Optic does just drop 0-2 right out of the tournament, the Major 4, which, I mean, it's possible, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, then you still got to get either a first round win and another, or you got to get 2 to 3 wins down in the lower bracket. And dude, it's just going to be really, really hard. I mean, the good news is so long and salutations to online Call of Duty. That's what really matters.
It really is the big.
That's the most beautiful part of all of this. The next up we want to hit on though is the Heretics start off a perfect 5-0. Now I do think they had a little bit of a lighter challenge set given this time, but still impressive nonetheless. We want to give them their flowers. They're going in as the 1 seed. You think they're a real deal threat to win it all, or you think it's favorable matchups?
Win it all is a very tough one. I think they definitely could for sure make it a little bit decent in this tournament. They're, like we talked about the first match a second ago with the Rocker. I think that is a definite win. Their second game is going to be a little bit more difficult. But my thing for the Miami Heretics is like, it's like another Surge moment of all they did was just make one roster swap. Yep. Just bringing in Super off the bench and putting them up into the main roster. And it's like, that turns around your whole squad? I mean, because it's not like it's just been all Super. It's like, I guess him with the team, whether it's vibes, communication, play style, has just been working with everybody because everybody on that team has been doing good in these past matchups. And sure, some of them were a little easy, but they have beat FaZe the last 2 times that they have faced FaZe. Now, we can argue that that was the mid-round throws of FaZe, as you like to call it, but that's still beating FaZe. Sure. Whether you want to look, whichever way you want to look at it.
Totally.
So it's like, unfortunately, they couldn't quite win their own tournament of Major 3 and get their own trophy, but I think it's definitely could be a possibility for them to get up there, but you got to go through LAT. You're going to have to definitely go through FaZe. And does Super and Ronco and all them have what it takes, real medals, to be able to do that? On land?
I think
Not
it's
online, on land.
I do think it's going to be tough. The one thing I do want to note, though, which I think is really kind of swept under the rug, because it felt like the first split, everyone was all talking about Carolina Royal Ravens, which obviously I was probably one of their biggest haters and plot twist. We might be right in the end. But the first major, Heretics made a run. They looked good. They went kind of deep. They were frisky. And then the second one, they got a little bit flatter. But then the third one, home major, you make another run. You're looking good again. And then now you're looking really good. So it's 3 out of 4 of these, they've been in a really good spot. So it's weird that I do feel like most people, even here in the office, are kind of putting them in that 5, 6, 7 spot, which is kind of wild because it's they were probably T3, T4, Major 1, T3, T4 in the last one. And, yeah, you could say Major 2 wasn't as good, but now they're number 1, and it's they might be trying to compete with that. I feel like, again, FaZe is still probably head and shoulders above the rest of the field, but that, LAT, Heretic, Surge, Ultra, that's a frisky little foursome there. And, any given weekend, I wouldn't be surprised who comes out of that. I think Super, the swap, is really, really good, but Rincor's been on. He feels like the glue of that team, really holding them together. So I do expect him to make a little bit of a deeper run. Obviously, coming in as a 1 seed, you get favorable bracket, so that's a good advantage. So I would anticipate they'll probably get T4. I think they'll make Sunday. I just hope they kind of get some good momentum and, look forward to champs and hopefully make a deeper run there too.
Yeah, I think it's pretty exciting to me. I mean, I'm all for better competition for Call of Duty because earlier on it felt like it was just the FaZe show and the LAT kind of hanging in. And now we have the Surge, now we have Ultra, now we have the Heretics.
Yep.
It's great when Call of Duty is better in a closer match. Now, unfortunately, we just need to get Optic up there. But moving on away from Call of Duty to another game of a totally different style, we got League of Legends. Yep. All right. this match that went on in League of Legends between America's beloved Flyquest and also Cloud9 wasn't even really a show. It was a brutal stomp.
It was. I mean, it was a 2-0. You could argue that it was a quick 2-0 because I think the matches were like 25 minutes and 27 minutes or something like that. Insanely quick. But it's fascinating. The first match, it had what I believe is one of the latest, if not the latest, first tower take in LTA of the spring. It was like 21, 22 minutes. And then 3 to 4 minutes later, the game is literally over, and you lost if you're Cloud9. It's really impressive because, one, it didn't feel close. It didn't look close. It felt like Flyquest was just kind of playing with their food. I do think it's interesting. Cloud9 had kind of beat them earlier in the year, so this was like a little bit of a get back. I think in the playoffs, we're going to get to see them play again, which will be really nice, and that'll be fun and exciting. I think this shows a lot to Fearless. Like the pick ban systems are going to get exciting. The different champs pools are going to get exciting. I mean, you really saw him neutralize Vin in the bot lane. Like, it didn't feel like he was a factor. It didn't feel like he was useful in either of the games, and that's obviously a critical part of C9. And it's just very interesting because League is such an old, traditional behemoth of a game, but both of these matches just felt very, like, uncharacteristic. Like, it's very odd to have such a late, pushing, they didn't get that many plates, neither team did, but then it's like you lose one fight, you're out of the game, it's done. It's like there was no fight back. There was no like, hey, let's play this so we can draw this map out so that we can, build up some items, get up some gold, try to make a comeback, get a Baron steal or something. It was just shove the cards to the middle of the table. Nah, we lost. Let's run it back. Shove them to the middle of the table again. Nah, we lost again. I guess we'll play in a couple weeks. It just felt very uncharacteristic from C9, which, again, is such an old org. But Flyquest looked like the best in America, I guess, back on top.
Back on top indeed. Unfortunately, I mean, they didn't make it to the last stand, their first stand, whichever one's called. I always get it confused. Flyquest, I've been a big fan of it, especially their top lane. Bwipo has been fun to watch, but he's going up against Thanatos, who is arguably just another one of the beasts there. And that's what's so fascinating to me is that these games, although it was the first tower was taken so late, it's like both games only into 20 minutes. It's like back when I used to heavily watch League, it's like both of those games could have just been one singular game of League.
Yeah, totally.
Like, it's crazy the turnaround time there from the tower taken to the game finished. But I like to give that out to Inspired over on Flyquest, the jungler. I think it's just been like making plays, great control over the jungle and of the dragon and Baron, like all the monsters and stuff on Summoner's Rift, because like C9 didn't get a single dragon. It was just like complete control over every objective, and they were just able to run with it all there. And like in the second game, Bwipo just like takes over Thanatos in the top lane. I mean, on that Renekton, he went 6-0-7. Just crazy run from him, a 23k damage, just dominating C9 with that, beating everybody on his team. And Quad, all of them did just such a great job over there on Flyquest. And they definitely, to me, I don't think there is anybody in North after that showing. Like, who you got that can go up against them? Team Liquid?
I mean, maybe we'll talk about that in a second, maybe with a new player. But, yeah, I just felt like that, like you said, complete total control of the jungle. It's one of those where you feel like you get first blood early. You do get a chunk of plating damage done, but, like, you have no objective control. You lose every dragon. It just felt very uncharacteristic. But I don't disagree. But, circling back on Liquid and Flyquest, Flyquest used to have an academy player, goes on to go to Maryville College, two-time NACE Player of the Year, Prospect of the Year, plays in the Challengers, Challenger Player of the Year, gets called up, Yuuji, playing on Liquid. Hey, not going to be here till after MSI. Don't worry about it. We'll be back. Go play the playoffs, have fun. I guess they got the visa issues sorted or something of that nature, but makes his pro debut on Sunday. Showed out. Quick 2-0 beatdown, make it to the playoffs. Almost went 10-1 and I think 8 in the second game playing Viego. Nearly flawless. First game, still kind of getting his feet under him, but for the highest rated American prospect ever, like, what a premiere, what a start, and like, is this the prodigal son of America? Like, is this our version of Faker? Like, what do you expect? You think he's just gonna fall flat? We're not gonna talk about him in 6 months or what?
I mean, I think for all those things, it's too early to tell. It's like the same with Mercules with CDL. It's like we're just getting started. Yeah, we don't know what's gonna come up. My only unfortunate thing is like this is how North America and League has been for a while.
All or nothing.
And it's like everybody that is great for North America is not even from North America.
Yeah,
like. because when it comes to League, is it impossible for us to produce our own talent? That's my main question.
Probably.
But luckily, this guy is flying the great colors of the red, white, and blue. Okay, and yeah, he had a good showing. Like you said, Deviego's really good. The first game on Pantheon, not so good. The team they were going against, not the greatest either. Can definitely have their time in the light, but it's like, I think for this one, it's a time will tell thing. Like, it's great that the visa issues got settled out and they can get him before MSI. Maybe that can help them secure a spot in MSI, whatever it may be. But I'd like Faker. I mean, he's been in the game forever.
Yeah.
There's tons of players over there in the LCK and everything that probably would wipe the floor with this kid right now. But does that mean in a year or 2 years or however long that he might be one of the next greatest? I think it's definitely possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think it begs the question of, you know, what does America kind of need? Because like you said, I think it's going to be a little bit of a softer entrance because you're not going against Korean or Chinese talent. So it is arguably easier here. So there is that, which is nice. But then also, like, when you're a player that he seems like a soft-spoken, like very well put together guy, and it's Faker gets away with that because he is a certified killer inside the Rift, right? And you have to be so unbelievably good to get away with being like that stoic, soft-spoken, not emotional. The other side of that is you get to be a, you know, very eccentric, crazy, hyper, like, you know, woo, I win, like super jump on the stage, start screaming type player. You know, you don't have to be as good because you make those flashy moments. I feel like a lot of the Valorant players kind of get away with that. They're a little bit more exciting, which kind of helps tell their story. So I am curious what this guy's story is going to be. You know, he's going to be a heel. Is he going to be a hero? Like, what are we getting here? I definitely agree. It's way too early to tell. But as far as first chapters go, if this is the prelude, like that's a pretty good showing for the prelude. Came in early. If they make a run in this tournament and it's, you know, heavily influenced by him, like, you know, we might be saying, you know, we might be singing a different song after that.
Might be biting our words here.
That's true.
All right, well, keeping it Riot, we're going to switch over one to their other games, their shooter.
Nobody cares about this one, right?
This is the one everybody cares about. What
No,
do you mean?
yeah, but we're talking about EU.
Well, yeah, we are talking about the EU, so yeah, nobody cares about it. I'm just kidding. Everybody cares about EU. EMEA has finally finished their roundup, and they allowed us to finally get to see what the seeds for Toronto, or the seeding and everything for Toronto is going to be, because they finally resolved those tech issues. But now that that's over, Fnatic, old school org, been in balance to start, was good, looked a little rocky last year, came in unexpected, dominated in the playoffs. Heretics just made them look like chumps, unfortunately. And unfortunately, that begs the questions for all of us American fans over here is like, G2's our top dog. Do you think that Fnatic is better than G2?
It feels like a loaded question. I think that if you watched both tournaments and had no context outside of that for how previous international affairs had went, Fnatic, while not as high of a seed as G2 coming in, G2 struggled at times. You could argue it's because Sentinels look good. You could argue because other orgs inside of NA are better, and they faced a little bit more adversity. Fnatic, I mean, they mollywopped everybody. Like, I mean, it was just beatdown after beatdown. I think they dropped one map the whole bracket. I mean, they were very, very dominant through their play, which, hats off to them, look really, really good. I don't think that it makes them better than G2. I think it makes America better than Europe, which is probably good for us right now. But, I mean, we'll get to see. Their play styles are a little bit different. Again, I think you're icing America because they finished playing what felt like a month ago at this point. I know it was only a couple weeks, but, you know, there were tech issues and other problems. But it does feel like we haven't seen G2 play in what feels like a month. Also, you know, there's going to be Tejo nerfs when we get to the Masters. So there's going to be a little bit of a different meta. It's going to be a little bit different play styles. So, like, you know, how will that impact some of the NA teams? Because obviously some of them like to pick a champ 30 maps in a row. So we'll see how that goes. But all in all, I still give it to America. I mean, it's one of those where we've got two good teams. They arguably have one. We'll see what happens. This came full circle, right?
I'm so proud to hear you say those words. Let's go, America.
Yeah, Team USA.
Listen, we're just going to get this done right off the rip. EU is not better than NA in Valorant. Fnatic, congratulations to them. They are definitely looking pretty good. And a lot of that can be attributed to like their pickups of like Crashies, who has been like a big help for them. Before it was a little rocky, but it's like now they've settled in. It's like And Boaster, talking about a fun IRL or IGL.
Yeah.
He's fun in IRL as
fun
well.
IRL too, yeah.
He's real goofy and likes to dance and all. He's a real fun spirit. And also he gets the job done. And I thought whenever they lost Dirk and he went on to Vitality that was pretty much going to be the slow downfall of Fnatic. So it is fantastic to see them be able to get themselves together and dominate the EU side like that, because Team Heretics, who they finished second place last year, at Worlds, and they were looking dominant. The old Fortnite player, Benji Fishy, just looking great. And now it's like they didn't even make it to Bangkok. And so they were looking for that redemption here. And unfortunately, they only get the number 2 seed. It puts them in a tough spot now going up against Paper Rex as their first round into Toronto. Yeah, which is a team that's on fire right now.
Totally.
So, like, Fnatic really saved the bullet right there. But G2, I mean, for me, it's like what you said. I think the talent in NA is better. And that's why G2 looked a little bit more rocky to get there, because the teams are just slightly better. And that's just how it's just as simple as that. Tejo Nurse or not, G2 has the better players. Every single player on there is more of a slayer. IGLs, we can argue who's better than the other, but it's like slayers.
It's also one of those where when you think about BBL and KC and those groups that are kind of fighting for that last slot into the EU, if they had to go up against that EG or that MIBR, those maps don't feel like they would be close right now. And that's top to bottom, middle to middle. It just feels like NA's all around stronger.
Yeah, because, well, unfortunately, I guess we can't classify MIBR as NA. But
yeah.
Well, they're a part of the Americas region.
They're playing under the banner. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. But shifting gears, we are going to be hopping into the Teardown segment, where we're going to be tearing down Dreamhack. This weekend inside of Dallas, Texas, we will be going to Dreamhack, which is, it's probably a better snapshot as a point in time. It's going to be like the MLG events of old. There's going to be a COD major. There's going to be a Halo major. There's going to be a prequel to a CS major. Still a really big event. Still, I think, $1 million prize pool for that. But it will be IM Dallas for CS. There's going to be a Valorant Open. There's going to be Smash. There's going to be all kinds of stuff that are going to be there throughout the weekend. And it's going to be overall a really big, huge event. Are we going to be going back to the big, grandiose MLG days, or is this just a taste of how yesteryear used to be?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think this is just a way for us older boomers to get our nostalgic fix for the old days. Because unfortunately, it's like I don't think anything like this can really be held anymore. It's like having all 3 major games together. Like, you have people like Riot who like to control everything, so like they're never usually going to join that. I'm surprised they joined into the EWC, which is a completely different conversation. But like, a lot of times companies don't like to relinquish control to their games or their tournaments. Now, Counter-Strike, of course, is the exception to this rule when it comes to your major games. Valve's just like, yeah, anybody can hold these tournaments, fine, just follow our rules and our rule sets. But like, unfortunately, like I said, like, we can never get a Valorant. We can never get a League. Like, it's cool that we can get Halo and we can get Call of Duty and Counter-Strike all into one, and maybe we can make that happen again. But it's like, I do want to see a world where games like Riot, Control games, actually do relinquish those. Because I think these events can be cool to have things. Because I think there's like some chess going on in there, like a little chess tournament going on.
It's all over the place.
There's like a whole bunch of different tournaments that are going on within it. And it allows for people to go to be able to dive and dip. It's like, maybe you find this game of Call of Duty very interesting, so you make sure you want to watch that, but this one not so much. So then you can head over and maybe catch a Halo match and this one that you want to see, or Counter-Strike. It's like cool to be able to dive and dip into each one of those. It's like movie hopping at the theaters, It's very exciting.
It's also one of those where it allows you to become a fan of a team, in my opinion, because like, if you want to pull for Optic and you go watch Optic play Call of Duty and they happen to lose early and they quit getting to play really quickly, well, then you can walk over to the Halo stage and they're probably going to make a pretty good run over there. So it allows you to, even if you're not a huge Halo fan, but if you're a big Optic fan, it allows you to kind of see your team in different disciplines. And it also, if you're net new to gaming, it's a really cool experience because, you get to see how different organizations operate, what they look like, how the feel is, what the different games like. Because, obviously I'm a COD guy through and through, so that culture is so different. There's going to be a challengers bracket there. Those kids are playing to go to ESWC in Riyadh. So the challengers will be effective and it will matter, and it's going to be set up in a traditional sense, which I think is really, really cool and unique because You know, I got my start in competitive gaming in 2010-ish at an MLG event, and that's when Call of Duty and League of Legends were like the backroom games, and Gears and Halo were on top of the world. But those are games I didn't play, so me being able to see them, I immediately had respect for those guys. I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, you have an audience playing in front of me. I'm playing in like a closet in the back. So it's just a really cool experience as a competitor, but then as a spectator, you get everything. Because, you know, I was talking to you about the Masters coming up in Toronto. You basically are spending an entire day to watch two teams play, which is cool, and it's a great cinematic thing, and that's what you do for real sports. But at this Dreamhack event, you can walk a 15-minute span across a venue, and you can watch 5 different esports competing. You can be cheering for a chess champion, and then immediately go watch a guy compete in Halo, and then an open bracket Call of Duty amateur team start competing. And it's a really cool the levels of skill that you're going to be able to see, and it's going to hopefully introduce a lot of new people to the scene too. So I hope there are more events like it. I hope we get maybe 1 or 2 like massive ones a year that are like meccas to where a lot of people can get their jump start. We could maybe have, you know, high school national championships or collegiate national championships there, so you can kind of bring the whole scene together for these moments, because it was so cool from when you and I were younger. It's unfortunate that nobody's really got to experience that since COVID, so hopefully we start to get a few more of these.
Yeah, I'm totally down for it too, because like, unfortunately, I feel like a lot of times, like specifically like Riot, I won't keep bringing them up because we talk about their games a lot, is like when they do their shows, their Masters Torontos, or even their regular season or whatever, it's like they seem to put a lot into the production, right?
Sure.
And it's like, it's one of those things of like, at what cost is it to do production at these venues to everybody get like a super big production? Because back in the day, right, MLG and things like that, it's like we're like 30 lawn chairs in a seat on a tiny auditorium type stage, and it's like we could fit there. But now it's like the fans of these teams, there's thousands of people, right?
Totally.
And it's like, could you imagine a venue that was hosting both like something grand in League, in Valorant, in Counter-Strike, and like any of these major games all together in one venue? The amount of people that would draw. It's like the fire hazard and the production costs and like just the amount of everything would be insane. So for me, it's like, it'd be cool if when they did have these events like a Dreamhack, like maybe a regular season games are going on in League or something like that, and like they would allow those to maybe take place at the venue. Like it's just like week 4 or whatever, or maybe it's like the entry
100%.
to the playoffs. So like it don't have to be a Masters or, you know, a MSI or anything like that. It's just simple games that matter, you know, for rankings and standings going forward, but being able to throw those in there with some of the other dogs and get more light on things like Halo. Because Halo, unfortunately, doesn't get enough love.
And it's one of those to where it lets your orgs cross-pollinate, like LA Thieves, 100 Thieves, they're cross-pollinated across multiple. Cloud9, they're across multiple. So you do get this cross-pollination of audiences that already exist, more people in the jerseys, in the stands. And it's like, to me, I mean, you and I went to PAX in probably 15 or 16 or something like that. But from probably 2010 to 2017, those PAX years, League used to be there and have esports, and so did Call of Duty. And like that event was crazy. There was 100,000 people coming through that venue a day, and it's like some people are there to pick up a board game, and then they find out about League of Legends and get to watch what it is. And sure, that show is nowhere near the scale, because watching League be played at PAX to a few short years later watching League in Madison Square Garden was very different, like insanely different. But it's weird that we live in a world where both can't exist, and hopefully this is a step in that direction.
I hope so too, because like I'm excited. Of course, we will be going, so hopefully we can get some things there done, and hopefully it's going to be a fun experience. I, for sure, am definitely excited. But moving on to Counter-Strike, which will be at Dreamhack Dallas for this IEM Dallas. Looking back, though, on our past tournament, PGL Astana, unfortunately, there wasn't a whole Vitality wasn't there, Falcons wasn't there, Mouse. There was a lot of teams were missing from this one, but we did have one major player that was there, and that was Spirit. And of course, however you want to put it, Team Spirit was there, and they did end up taking the win, which everybody was predicting.
Sure.
But it didn't really look as easy as a road as what we were thinking. Is Donk enough to be able to propel this team to be able to win another major? Yeah,
they asked after the match. It was a really kind of telling moment where they were doing the post-match interviews, and they were like, hey, you know, Donk didn't look that happy after the match. And they're basically like, oh, well, you know, we're supposed to be competing with Falcons and Vitality, and I think if we played them right now, it probably wouldn't go well. That's the vibe I got, for sure. Because at times it looked like Astralis, you know, we'll get to them in a minute, but, you know, they shouldn't have been in that finals. They were probably the 4th or 5th best team there. And then they take a map off of Spirit, and then they are very competitive in most of the maps. And sure, you have Donk at times. Like there was at one point, I think the Mirage, where he was like 16-8 with over 200 damage around, which is nuts. His team had 15 kills. It's like, this isn't acceptable on a main stage. This isn't acceptable on a map they would go on to lose. It's just not good. I mean, even the closeout on Nuke was a 4v1 Donk had to clutch up at 12-10. So if you lose that, it's 11-12. Win that, ends up being 13-10. I don't think Donk is enough currently. Shiro was very uncharacteristically off. As harsh as it's going to sound, Shiro v Device is supposed to be a star-studded affair. It's supposed to be two of the best operas in the world, but it was a mid-off. It looked like we were playing in, double AK rank. Like we're nowhere near DMG right now.
That's rough. They
were just missing op shots that they would never normally miss. Maybe some of it's nerves, maybe some of it's they were mentally checked out after losing that Mirage map. But I just can't imagine a reality where Donk's enough. I hope right now, if the Spirit management team is listening or any player on that team, dude, you need Kyosoki. You get rid of Magix. You've got to make a change. Chopper, I think, is a pretty good IGL. I don't think he necessarily should be on the chopping block. But, man, Magix at times is just a weight, and it hurts, and it's hard to carry. And even when Shiro is down and you've got Donk, like, it almost wasn't enough versus Astralis. It will definitely not be enough versus Falcons or Vitality.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And it is just singing like the same old tune that we've been singing in here constantly. Donk, amazing performance out of him through the 4 games. As crazy as he had right at 100 ADR for just the entire series. Like, that is just insane for a player to have. And, like, that's how much he unfortunately is carrying Spirit. Yeah. And as how much as I'm sure he loves popping off and doing great, it's like, as you talked about, him being angry over these things, it's like he can't win the game by himself. Sure. Right? You need a whole team. Because people like Vitality or Falcons are going to just be able to shut you down and then deal with the rest. And unfortunately, that leads us to who is the problem. Yeah, sure, didn't have the best games, but usually he's always doing good. And he still did good in those series. He was just a tad bit off. Zontix is normally always performing. He performed in this one a decent amount. Yep. And then you have Chopper. He's the IGL. He doesn't do the greatest sometimes, but pistol usually, clutch. Yeah, his pistol rounds are great. And one of the benefits of being an IGL is a lot of times is you don't have to worry about being at the top, right? Because your job is to lead the team, not lead the team in kills. So unfortunately, that leaves one player last.
It does.
And unfortunately, Magix, yes, Magix on Falcons, Magix on Spirit, whichever one. Unfortunately, it's just he went positive, I think, on one map over there, and it was +1. So even the games where they're dominating, he's still not dominating. It's just Donk and Shiro and them carrying him. And his lurks are just a lot of times they don't pan out, or his timings are really off. I don't know what's going on because I know, and I think the hard part is one, I know they don't want to keep their team all Russian, which I think is cool. It's great for their nationality. They're a Russian team. They want to all be Russian players. But there's got to be some better Russian players. Totally. Yeah. Obviously the one you were just talking about, even if however we need to fit him into the team.
Let's do it.
We need to fit him in the team.
The good news is Magic gave us the best moment from Donk. He put the little confetti on his head and he smiled after that. So you know what? Hey, thanks for that.
Thanks for that.
The next thing we want to kind of talk to when we look at this PGL Astralis map tournament rather, is what was more impressive? Navi being the second highest rated team, barely making it into the playoffs and getting bounced in the first round, or Astralis, who I think is the 5th rated team, making it all the way to the finals. What's the more impressive story here?
For this one, I chose Astralis because I was a big fan of Astralis back in the day, and obviously they had their miracle run, and they were just the dominant force in Counter-Strike, and now that's just a pipe dream of wanting to get back to.
Sure.
And while this team has had its struggles, this one, although, it is missing a lot of the top dogs, was a great performance from them.
It was.
I mean, they did good against everybody that they faced. Even if we talk about Spirit with the loss in the finals, it's they may have got 3-1. Okay, which is not a good performance, so to say. But it's a lot of these games were close.
They were.
Train was winning to overtime. Nuke was close. They dominated on Mirage. I mean, as you were talking about, Donk had all those kills and his team had nothing. They didn't even get any on the second half.
Yeah.
Astralis just straight dominated on there. Just the problem is with Astralis is, man, dude, Device, we were just talking about a second ago, on that Nuke, man, I watched him miss, it felt 4 or 5 op shots in a row. And Look, I get it. I'm not an opera. I'll miss those many shots. But like when I used to watch him back in the day, it's like those were the shots he wasn't missing, even if he just had one hand.
He would style one in the middle.
Yeah, like there's all that, and it's like I don't know if it's maybe the team chemistry or stuff, because like you still see glimpses of that device in there. It's not like it's gone. It's just there's a lot of that weakness in the middle. Maybe a little bit that we've seen with our boy Simple coming there and playing for FaZe. But I can't never pronounce his name. The player on Astralis, Strafe? No, not. Whoever it was, even Don. I can't pronounce his name, dude. Gamer names are just so complicated. That's another topic for another day. It's like simple as that. But like he is carrying on Astralis, and he had an outstanding performance in pretty much all of his games. And Hooksie's calls have been pretty decent. Unfortunately, he's not been playing well. I know I just talked about how Chopper can't do that well, but like I think Hooksie went like -26. So like that one's a little bit much. Like. But still, coming in second, being fifth, that's fantastic to me. I think they can definitely keep holding that ground.
Yeah, Hoosie's stats weren't the best, but I mean, I do feel like he was very clutch at times. It was one of those, you got those Chopper moments where it's like, probably not pull the cord, but like, come on, can you get some more kills, bro? Please. No, I want to lean onto the Navi side, though, because to me, I'm pretty sure Lexi B said it a couple weeks ago before this event. Hey, you know, I'm not saying it's over. I'm not saying it's our last dance, but I think we got 2 tournaments left. And if that's one of your last 2, it ain't looking good. It's wild to think because this is the same roster that in 2024, Team of the Year, Alexi B, IGL of the Year, you had, I think, 3 or 4 of those players were in the top 15 players in all of CS 12 months ago. And now you were barely making it out of groups. You're getting bounced in the first round, and you look like a shell of yourself. It's like you're talking about with Device. It's one of those where, yes, we see glimpses of, hey, this is a really good team. And then we see a whole lot of, are you the right guys with the right names and the right jerseys? Like, is this...
Got some identity there.
Is there like there's some swappery? Because, like, I hear this academy team from Navi is incredible. Like, are you just trying them out? Or, like, what's happening here? This is getting weird. It does feel very lost. It's like that team just doesn't feel like they have an identity. You could argue, we mentioned Simple, obviously was a huge anchor to that organization for so long. Maybe, you know, losing him to, I guess, arguably himself, probably really hurt them. And then, you know, it slowly unravels from now, and now we're just at the end of that spiral. I think they'll probably make a roster change after the major. I'm hoping it's a big roster change. Who knows? Simple pops off and, you know, figures out his talent the next couple weeks. Maybe he comes back and solves all problems and return to the Navi greatness of a few years ago. But right now, that team needs to change. Something's got to happen. It's not looking good.
It's not looking good, really, for either one of these teams. But we just talked about Dallas. I'm going to ask you, what are you most excited for going into Dallas here for Counter-Strike? What's the best team?
Easy. Simple.
Easy.
It's simple.
It's simple.
It's very simple because it's simple. That's the thing that I'm most looking forward to. I mean, I think we're going to see Vitality probably do really well again. I think the Falcons and Vitality both are going to make some exciting matchups. I think they're both going to show their talents as the best 2 teams. But the middle is where I'm most excited about. And I don't anticipate FaZe to be competitive with the top 2 teams in any capacity. But if they can be top 5, that's a huge win for them. If they can be top 5, because one, they have an additional sub for Rain, and then obviously you got Simple, who's basically been non-existent for half a year at this point. So seeing how quickly they ramp up, what it looks like, I know from a media standpoint and from a spectacle, you could not write better cinema than Simple returns, defeats ZywOo, ends the streak, GOAT status cemented. Like, that would be the literal definition of Hollywood ending. I don't think we're going to get that. I want to be very clear. If that happens, I will be so unbelievably impressed. But Simple being in the server, it draws a crowd, it draws attentions, it draws social media. You're going to see this, like today, I've seen nothing but people tweeting the start time of the FaZe match. And it's like everybody's got their eyes on this. I hope that we're starting to see a redemption arc from Simple, and I hope this isn't the nail in the coffin and he's probably done. So that's the most exciting thing for me for Dallas. I hope we get to see him this weekend and he makes it deep. But
well, I know as we were going in to record this, it wasn't looking too good for the first game.
True.
It was just map 1 they lost. It's just map 1. For me, the biggest thing, and as boring, as cliche as it may sound, I'm just ready for another Vitality Falcons matchup in the finals. Going to be there to watch it. That just makes it even better. And Falcons have been showing through these past couple times that they definitely have what it takes to be able to beat Vitality. It's on Vitality to hold on to that streak. They stated that they don't think they're going to be able to hold on to it, but it's like, I don't know. To me, that's just being humble.
It is.
All right, you got to be a little bit humble. So I'm excited for this matchup. I think it can probably go another 5 games again. Awesome pick bands going on. I wonder if the Falcons are going to pick Inferno again against Vitality, which they did beat them the last time. Yep. I'm just these two teams facing together is just exciting. So watching Monacy and Nico go up against Zywo and Apex is just like, it's an incredible feat. I can't wait to be in the stands.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun time. It's one of those where it's going to be so disappointing if it's not those two. The only way it's not disappointing is if it's FaZe. Yeah, that's the only way. And it will probably be a swift 3-0. But I hope not. But it's one of those where like that, it just feels like that's the only way it won't be exciting. But I just want to peel back before we move on to the beloved segment here. You're saying that out of all of these great games over the weekend, if you can only sit in one chair for Championship Sunday, you're sitting in a Counter-Strike chair.
Between Halo, Call of Duty, and Counter-Strike?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's not a competition.
Right, it's COD, right?
No.
Heck yeah.
It's Counter-Strike.
Well, heck yeah. We're going to swoop on over to buy or sell. All right, so the first topic we want to hop into is, dude, Doublelift's a gamer, man. Coming this Annihilator Cup, looking for back-to-back. In Street Fighter, asserted dominance. Is Doublelift the best gamer we got right now?
The best gamer of all time? I mean, he's definitely in the running, but I mean, that's a little too hard to sell. But like, I will definitely buy as a gamer of like, just good at tons of games. I'm pretty sure he competed in Ludwig's last like World's Greatest Gamer, if I'm not mistaken. He might not have, but I feel like he was there. But he is just well-rounded, as we saw in fighting games, in league, in shooters. It's like whatever you put this man to, you give him a little bit of time, he's going to do good in it. And like that's a skill that not very many people have, to be able to go from genre to genre to genre in video games and be good at them. So yeah, gamer.
I'm selling it.
Oh my God.
I'm only selling it because I'm gonna go Team Scump here. It's one of those where when you watch
Nobody's doubting Scump.
No, it's one of those, I'm saying, we're talking best gamer here. When you watch Doublelift, it's like, I don't know why, it's like nobody pulls for him. It's like there's no hype. But when you watch, like Scump does well at League, crowd goes wild. Doublelift goes well in Call of Duty, nobody cares.
It's because it's expected.
That's probably true. Maybe I'm just a hater. It's possible.
They don't expect Scump to do good.
That's probable. Hey, COD's on top right now.
Okay, if you say so. All right, moving on to things that are not doing well. Marathon. This one is a tough one. We've talked about Marathon on here. We've had our doubts. We've expressed our concerns. But, man, dude, they just got hit with some art theft. It's not looking good. Potentially the game might just be done for before it even comes out. I guess is the buy or sell. Is Marathon still surviving or selling? Is you just let it die?
I'm going to buy because I think they're going to drive this thing across the finish line, even if it's a literal on-fire heap of metal. Because that's what it feels like it's happening right now. Because I would argue that the beta didn't go off that well. Then Arc Raiders comes, and Arc Raiders just smashes everything. And then now you just got hit with, 3 or 4 cases of art theft, where you basically just took box art in the game for a game that you prided on the art, which is the worst part. So it's really tough. It really hurts the credibility, the originality, and it's not good. I think they're going to get it across the line. I don't think that Forbes article that says they're dead and not going to release now is full true, but I don't think anybody's going to care.
Sell. I want it to die. I don't think it will either. I think Bungie obviously has way too much money invested into this and time spent into it to where it will see the light of day. But man, boy, did that alpha was just bad. And then Arc Raiders, that was fun. You look at that, that's an extraction shooter I want to play. You look at Marathon, that looks like a Roblox knockoff game that you should just be able to play for free and maybe spend a couple of Robux on. It's just It's trash, man. It's trash.
That's insane. The next one we want to hop into is Kimi Antonelli, the F1 driver for the Mercedes team. Shows up to Imola rocking 100 Thieves merch. This is a pretty cool gaming collab, or is this one of those, I don't care, celebrity wearing gamer stuff, whatever?
I mean, I think I just buy it just because I think it's cool that they are wearing gamer merch, and 100 Thieves always have pretty good apparel. It's honestly been the best thing to come out of their org, probably has been apparel. Definitely not their esports, unfortunately. And I think that's cool. I think it's cool just for them. As long as it, like, if it's just a collab to do it, it's not. But, like, if somebody's just wearing 100 Thieves, a celebrity wearing it, it's like, I think that's pretty cool.
100%. I'm buying it with the caveat it's his choice, not a paid promotion.
Yeah.
Because I think that is cool. I do think 100 Thieves does make really cool merch. He's also like a 17-year-old kid. So it's like he is in the target demo. So super cool. They also have Nino Norris who does Quadrant. So like, yeah, they're already gaming related over there in F1. So I'm buying it. It's cool.
All right. Moving on. Juicy. CS2, baby. Counter-Strike.
What we got?
All right, we got cases. Everybody's loving it. I'm just basically cases, skins, whatever it may be. The market is crazy.
It's crazy.
I'm going to ask you right now, buy or sell, is Counter-Strike cases or skins an investment?
Buy. Absolutely. Have bought, will bought. Probably will continue to buy. The market this year has went insane. It's eclipsed both 4 billion, 5 billion, then it went back to 4 billion, but then it's up a couple $100 million now. It's also weird because like when we talk about the Counter-Strike market going up and down, it's like we talk about it in the literal numbers, but when you talk about the stock market, it's like percentage based. I mean, don't get me wrong, the percentages can still be scary in the Counter-Strike side. I do think there are smart investments. I think there are ways you can invest intelligently in it. I feel very similarly about crypto. There's obviously a bunch of like, scams and pump and dumps and weird nonsense you shouldn't invest in. Just like when a new case comes out, you shouldn't invest in the new guns because guess what? They're most probably going to depreciate once more people get them. But I do think you can invest in older cases, heritage cases, stuff like Dragon Lore, stuff like that. We were talking about this before the show. There was a point in 2014, I believe, when I was looking at Dragon Lores that cost around $2 grand. That same Dragon Lore now can cost over 400 grand. So I think for a lot of people, they would argue that it's a good investment, and they're continuing to do it.
Buy. Woo! Listen, hear me out.
Yeah.
Okay? It has to be done responsibly, okay? Because Counter-Strike has a serious gambling problem, okay?
Allegedly.
And I will never not say that. No, it's not allegedly. It has a serious gambling problem and a very dark underbelly, okay?
Allegedly.
But you can theoretically smartly invest in some Counter-Strike cases and skins. You just need to be aware of what you're doing. So, yes, it is a buy. It's still a terrible market in there.
We each crossed a line today that we did not think the other one would cross.
I did cross a line, I tell you what.
Nice. I will say, though, from a quick thing on Counter-Strike, you can play the game and get free skins in the game, and that reward system allows you to inevitably not spend money in the game. And I don't disagree. That's a very slippery slope. But I do think it's one of the few games that you actually are rewarded for playing, and you can actually literally get financial incentive for playing the game, which is very, very cool. The next thing that we want to touch on is still Counter-Strike. Also, weird situations that maybe seem shady at times. There's a lot of visa issues as it relates to CS right now. Do you think the visa issues are the U.S. is a problem and sometimes other countries are problems getting into countries? You think it's a scapegoat for trading players? Are you buying or selling that visas are they're hard to get?
I think it's a buy that they're just hard to get. There's a lot of crazy things going on in the world right now that we're not going to delve into in any way, but like, look, it's tough to be able to get visas into countries, and the thing with America out here is like sometimes you'll be told you're good, everything's fine, you fill out your paperwork, everything's good going online, then all of a sudden you just hit with a nope, sorry, denied. It's like the whole thing of like using it as a scapegoat or something. I'm not buying it. I think America's just a difficult country to get into sometimes, unfortunately.
I'm going to sell this, but only because I think that this is more of an organizational problem than it is a country problem. I don't disagree that it's hard. We see a lot of pro sports organizations do this all the time. I think esports, especially Counter-Strike, are so big and ubiquitous now that it's very easy to probably get the thing. You just have to know in advance, and you have to be able to submit the things in advance. And if there's one thing I know about gamers is that sometimes we procrastinate. And sometimes we don't submit things when we should submit them. And then, yes, the U.S. government is probably like, no, you're not breaking this deadline. Go home. So that's why I'm selling it. I think it's probably an organizational problem, not a country-based problem.
Okay, but are you going to be selling this? Halo Ricochet sniping coming back, okay? This was something that was such a big, hey, hold your hand up. Basically, okay, you can bounce your bullet off of walls in a way. Hold up. And it's pretty cool, right?
Sale. Not doing this, no shot. I'd rather play Frag Punk. What are we doing?
Wow.
Bouncing things off walls here, no shot.
Rather play Frag?
Yeah, dude.
That's a crazy
It's
statement.
also tough because I suck at Halo. It's not fun to just get pushed on.
Bye. I think this is fantastic. It's been in the game. It's led to so many funny moments on like Valhalla and other maps, especially on Halo 3, of just shooting and the bullets bouncing off the canyon in the back, and you end up donking yourself. Or the pit, which is a great one, of standing up top on the tower and sniping down into the ground and ricocheting up and killing somebody that's walking down. Like, that's cool, dude. What's not cool about that?
Do you think right now you can beat Eli if he only ricochet shots you?
If he only ricochet shots me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah.
All right, we're setting this up. The last thing that we quickly want to talk about is, are you buying or selling? This is a hot topic. We don't have all the information yet, so we might talk about this at a later date. But VCT is currently having some max fixing issues to where in the challengers, lower ranks, they're saying that their players are match fixing. You know, the alleged rumors are that players are making more than their annual salaries, just to throw a couple rounds here and there. Seems like a pretty big deal, but again, we don't know for fact. The internet, though, it's Riot's fault because Riot killed the scene in 2020 when they went to franchising. So the buy or sell here is, assuming that the match fixing is valid and correct and happening, is this Riot's fault? Did they cause this?
Yeah, it is Riot's fault. So buy whatever it is for that one. I couldn't remember. But it is because Riot, like I said earlier, loves to take control of everything. They take control of their game, their scene, they run the production, they run the tournaments. But it's like, yeah, you just letting the challenger scene run wild. And what do you think they're going to do down there? You got a bunch of usually young guys trying to make a name for themselves, and unfortunately, you don't give the scene any credit. So how are they supposed to make a name for themselves? So yeah, they're going to try to make some money on the side. Somebody offers you like 6 figures to throw a game, and you're like 19, 18 years old. Dude, 9 times out of 10, that's going to get taken. Sure. Is it right? No. But, like, they got to do a better job at taking control over these things.
100%. I mean, I'm big team buy as well. I think this is 100% Riot's fault. You can police your organization better. You can handle these things better. You can make them more efficient. You can put more spotlight on them. A lot of these systematic issues comes to what you're talking about is, if you would support the scene more, there would be financial incentive enough to do the correct thing. I don't think this is like NBA in the 90s where you have refs trying to throw things. I think this is just categorically, kids aren't making money. People offer kids money. Kid takes money. Like, this is very basic economics. So, right, step your game up. Let other people run tournaments. This won't happen again. What else you got going on this week? We doing anything cool? Because I think we'll be gone later on.
Yeah, we're going to Dallas.
Absolutely.
Let's go, baby. It's going to be fun.
What are you looking forward to most about IEM Dallas?
You know, this might sound surprising, but to actually see a little bit of Call of Duty in person.
Heck yeah. Hope it changes your mind.
Just for a little bit. Just a tad.
Hope it changes your mind.
It won't.
Well, that will be all for our show today. Thank you guys for checking us out. We'll be back again in a week. Until then, peace out, enjoy some games, and beat up on some noobs like this guy.